Learn how to deal with failures is an uncomfortable feeling you must overcome to win. I want to talk about failures because one thing I always told myself is that I have to learn how to deal with failures. This particular topic was motivated from a story that I heard recently. Obviously, it's a true story, and I feel the way it was presented was not even good enough to really carry the weight of what it was. Before we get into today's gist, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and turn on your post notification. In Nigeria, there's an examination called JAMB, Joint Administration and Matriculation Board. It happens every year. And this year, the JAMB results that came out was not what a lot of people hoped for. First of all, out of 1.9 million candidates that took the exam, less than 1% scored above 300, which is not a normal thing. Believe me, that is not what's supposed to happen. Apparently, about 17,000 students were the ones that were able to score over 300. I'm going somewhere. I'm sure you're trying to mix it like, okay, are you going to really use secondary school, high school exam to talk about failure? Yes, I'm going to. Because failure should be something that should be learned from a very early age. And in the culture that I was born into, I noticed that it's not something that people really know how to teach on how to deal with. Hence, a lot of people feeling like it's the end of the world once they fail once or twice. So stick with me. Now, apparently, information came out that there were glitches, and this affected over 300 candidates that took this exam from Lagos and the Southeast region, which is not a normal thing. For people from that region to be the ones failing, yeah, that sounded sketchy to me. So, in the midst of everything going on, there's a particular story that stood out to me about a girl called Faith Opesusi. This girl took JAM, came out with 146, and ended up taking her life because of it. Took rat poison and died, basically. She committed suicide because of failure. Failure is something that a lot of people do not understand can have a significant impact on them if you're not taught how to handle it. This was not going to, come on, this is JAM. And you know the worst part about this entire thing, or about the entire situation to me, is the fact that we are now hearing that they are retaking the exams, especially certain areas, because of glitches. And some people have already gone to retake the exam. So it's not even like she did not have any other opportunity. Although, yes, this is the second time she's writing JAM. JAM is something that is written once every year. It was an opportunity to try and do it again. And even if she still didn't pass the second time, why on earth would it come to having to take your life? And it left me thinking, how do we get here? How do people get to the point where they feel so much pain or they don't know how to recover from failing? And that's what I want to talk about. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Spanx, but it's a clothing brand that was created by a lady called Sarah Blakely. Now, I listened to one of her interviews and she spoke about failure and how her father taught her and her brother about it. And it left a significant impression on me. And I realized a lot more people do not take time to teach about failure. They always emphasize winning. She said something that was interesting to me. She mentioned that her father changed what failure was for them. Failure was basically them not trying, and failure was not the outcome. Failure was not about the outcome. It was about whether you tried or not. So if you didn't try, it's a failure. In fact, she said whenever they didn't do well or the outcome was not the best, the father will ask them, what did you fail at today then? You're not approaching it with the hope that, oh my God, I'm going to fail, or, the thought or the anxiety is more like, I wonder what the outcome is going to be from me trying this. Because if you know you're supposed to do something and you decide to do it and you don't do well at it, there's the tendency to, be discouraged, especially because of the kind of response or reaction you would get from the people around you. Now, I'm not going to turn around and try and blame the parents or, blame guardians or whatever about the decision that the girl made to end her life because of failure. I'm just going to say that a lot of times it's because we don't know. I don't want to use the word ignorant and sound too harsh, but for lack of better words, ignorant about situations or how to deal with situations. So if I was going to highlight ways to deal with failure, I would say, simple and short, number one, stop seeing failure as the outcome, start seeing it as you not trying at all. Number two, this is something I have told myself, failure is an uncomfortable feeling that you must learn to deal with in order to win. If you do not accept that you might not always win, then your chances of actually seeing wins reduce. So those are the two major things I feel people should take away from this video. If you're going to talk about failure, if you're going to look at failure, failure is not the end of the world. It's not something that you should push you to the point where you feel like life is over. You are going to go through phases in life, and each phase of your life would require you to go through some kind of test at that point. And every time, if you think about it, every time you pass a certain phase, by the time you're done with that phase and you move to the next one, it's as if what you passed is not so significant anymore. Guy, I can't. JAMB is not my problem at all right now. Like, I remember when it was my whole world, it was my morning and night. It was like, I can't even sleep. The anxiety from looking at the computer or looking at your portal to see your results was like terrible. It was so deep. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why was I that stressed? And over time, the more you grow, the more you realize that every time you step into a new phase of life, the fear and anxiety that you have from failing at that point or in that phase of your life is something that would be very insignificant as time passes. So why are we putting so much pressure on ourselves? Or even when we don't put pressure on ourselves, we need to remind ourselves not to put pressure on others, because sometimes it's not even us that is doing it. It's the idea of what other people would say that is leaving people like panicked and fear stricken. So going back to Sarah Blakely, I'm using her because I really love how she defined failure, or how her father redefined failure for her, and applying it to my life has really helped me. Let me read out something she said in one of her interviews. Now, I need you people to understand that Sarah is a billionaire. So we're not just taking information or advice from someone who has failed financially. She's successful in her finances. Yes, I don't know her personally, so I don't know about other parts of her life, but obviously this advice has helped her financially. Now, she says, every night at dinner, my father would ask, "What did you fail at today?" Which I feel is a very interesting conversation to have with your kids. And apparently, if she didn't have something to share, he'll be disappointed, because it means she's not trying things. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the father's shoes and try and see how he's using this to teach her about failure. So instead of seeing failure as something to be ashamed of, she said she started relearning that not trying was the real failure. And even brings me all the way back to one of my videos about parenting. It also boils down to how people are raised. And in case you were not in that situation, which I feel like I wasn't necessarily brought up that way to see failure that way, you can put yourself in that position to learn it and also pass it on to your kids. It gives confidence for you to take risks, to try things. And people that are the biggest risk takers, honestly, are the people who have seen most of the failures. Like, they have seen failure a lot and they do not care. They are confident in it because they will stand up and try again. Okay, this didn't work. What else can I try? Let me try something else. You understand? And it's not like, oh, I tried it and I failed and that's the end. I'm never going to try again, or I'm going to even like stop and just accept anything that comes my way. That's not how anyone should live. One of the major things I believe failure can teach someone is to know how to handle rejection. Because when you start seeing failure as you not trying, you will try, get rejected, you will try, get rejected, you will try and try and try. And you deciding to stop trying is the real failure, not you getting rejected. You are able to learn how to handle rejection better. Eventually, there is nobody in this world that is so persistent that doesn't dig through that hard rock. If you are, your persistence is more important than like a full-on blow. Keep on trying, and eventually you will break through that barrier that you think you have in front of you. So I'm going to end with this. Personally, I feel I have a very long way to go. I still have a lot I am learning. I haven't even gotten to the tip of where I want to be. But I have decided that every time I learn, I don't want to just learn. I would love to share it with you guys. So I would love to hear what you guys think. And honestly speaking, I also like to end with my condolences to the family that lost their wonderful daughter to this situation of not knowing how to deal with failure. And I really hope a lot more people are open to learning how to deal with it and knowing that failure is a part of life. In fact, it's a very important one that will build our character and build our strength and resilience. I would love us to get to the point where we can pass on healthy information on how to deal with struggles and deep things like failure to our kids, to ourselves, to those around us, so that we keep trying and we see how much we can grow as people. I'd like to know what you guys think, so please leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ching.